This is how I feel. You want to just record a podcast like right now?
Let's, you know what? Let's just do it. We'll rip the band-aid off for everybody.
Okay, perfect. They don't want to listen to this
Maybe they
nonsense we
do.
do
I don't
before.
know.
Do they? I don't
I
know.
if they do, all the more power to them. If they don't, well, we're gonna skip right to it because,
All right.
well,
I,
it's time.
I guess it is time. I think the you know, last thing we can say is, and I didn't even, the problem is, Steve, is that like when I try and do these things, and I'm not really prepared, it doesn't work kind of the way that I want it to work. But I think it'll work now.
What time is it?
It's time for Wicked Spursy.
Hey, this is Wicked Spursy. You've got Mike and Steve in the house today, and we are probably going to talk about why we dislike Thomas Frank since we don't have anybody to counterbalance our cynicism and negativity. So, Dave, I apologize in advance, but this is going to be very heavily Frank out, I assume. Unless, Mike, you have changed your mind recently. How are you anyway?
Well, Steve, the tide is turning here at in my household. My other podcast is doing very, very well, which makes me happy. Um, I'm working really, really hard at it. Probably harder than I am at this one, and I think it's probably due to you know a lot of what a lot of Spurs fans are feeling right now, which is apathy. But I think that with Wicked Spursy, we hit a kind of a high point last year during the Europa League, in the Europa League finals. So um, I'm hoping once the club figures out what it wants to do, we're going to be right back rolling. I'll be better about social media. I'll be better about engaging people on the web, and once I have time, I'll be able to do it. So like right now in my life, I think things are great, bud. Things are great. Lots of work, but I mean, when is there not?
That's fair. I definitely understand that. But man, I mean, you hit the nail on the head about the apathy. I mean, it's really difficult to watch matches like we were subjected to and not feel like, what am I doing here? Why am I tuning in? Uh, and to add insult to injury, uh, you see that, man, and I understand the logic behind the news that Solanke takes his place back in the Champions League squad at Tell's expense, but it really just feels like a punch to the gut when you see somebody who's out there trying his hardest and just, where's his reward? Where's his payoff? It's not like Solanke's match fit, right? So it just doesn't feel like, especially for 2 games left, it doesn't feel like the right decisions are being made to bring that passion and that energy into the game that we've been craving, which really sucks. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm not enjoying any of what I'm seeing.
Well, I mean, I came in with an idea today of a lot of other Spurs podcasts that, I mean, and Spurs fans in general, we're in a kind of a time where everything is negative. Man, my beard is awful. I just took a look at myself, where everything is negative, and I said, let's try and put as positive a spin as we can. I mean, so I figured that like today we're not going to throw any tactical stuff at you. We're not going to, you know, no AI interrupting our hatred for we don't really hate the manager. But we're not also going to pretend that everything is fine when it clearly isn't. No doom scrolling, no complete fucking meltdown on my part at least, and no Spurs are finished stuff either. So when it comes to going into tomorrow's game against Dortmund, and the Champions League squad moving forward, I really think that I don't think we're quite cooked yet. I mean, we thought we were cooked last season in the Europa League, and we just kept on plowing through. So, I think right now, let's talk about let's go ahead and just do like an honest assessment of where Spurs are right now, like on the pitch, off of it, culturally, tactically, emotionally, whatever you want to do. But let's try and keep it a little bit measured, so we don't actually melt down and punch each other through the computer screen, because I think you and I are pretty much aligned in where we feel like the club is going and what we need to do with the manager. But um, we should probably start right now with like reality, not vibes, right? Like we're not title contenders. We're definitely not a finished project. We're also we're not feels like free fall. We're not completely in free fall. Even though like most of the fan base is in that area, right? They living in that space right now. We're just kind of a team that's kind of stuck in a space that's pretty fucking uncomfortable, right?
Uncomfortable is right. And I'm going to start off with what I think is um, a good thing, right? So last week we were talking about what I wanted to see out of the club's organization, and we got that. Say what you will about Van Nuys messaging in the match day program, but it is exactly what I wanted from him. And we could spend time dissecting this. I'm not going to, because everybody's going to have their own opinions, and let's be honest, I'm not changing anybody's mind on that. But I had asked for communication from the top, and I got it. And so from that, I'm pleased, right? He's saying the things. He acknowledged that there were some serious shortcomings with where we are, and that steps were being taken to kind of lay that foundation and make sure that we had a sturdy foothold before we tried to prop ourselves up further. And you see that in some of the moves that they're making within the organization too. Different kinds of hiring. Trying to really get some semblance of a structure going. Whether it's effective or not remains to be seen. A lot of these positions aren't going to start until after this transfer window, right? So we've got Paratici departing, and then we've got a couple of, a director of football coming in. So there's moving pieces from an organization standpoint, which are kind of interesting, and it lends credence to, I think, what he's trying to tell the supporters. But for me, the big part wasn't trying to hush them and say you're crazy, we're doing the right things, you just got to be patient. It was, no, you know what, we're not where we want to be right now. I get it. We're going to, these are the steps that we're taking. It's very political in its wording, but it's what I wanted. And I can at least give kudos where it's deserved, right? I called him out. I'm sure he's listening to this, and he said, "You know what, Steve? I'll give it to you. I will give you the communication you want." So there's my positive take. What did you think about his messaging?
I think his messaging is the right messaging. The problem for me is that I don't like quite yet see any difference from where we were with Levy. Right? I like the messaging, but like in a practical sense, putting it into practice, I haven't really seen much other than the message and some fucking scarves, right? Put on some chairs in an away game. Which is fine, but like what I want to see is I want to see a direction from this team and from the front office that shows that we're trying to turn things around, right? And maybe when Vinay was with Arsenal, he just got lucky with Arteta, right? Maybe he just got lucky with a couple of signings that showed that Arteta was building something, and then they were like, then he was able to convince the Americans to throw a shitload of money around, right? I did see a weird graphic the other day that showed that Tottenham has spent just as much money on players as Arsenal has over the past 8 years, and I just can't fucking believe that. It may be true, it may not be true, but
Poor
we'll see.
investment.
Right. And I maybe it's just poor investment. So I talked about like the fact that we're kind of stuck between identities right now. We're not like on the field, we're not the pragmatic counterpunching kind of side, pragmatic like defensively, like in Mourinho's years and a little bit of the Conte years, right? We're also not like Ange Ball and or Pochettino, where teams were afraid to play us, right? With Pochettino, because they knew that they were likely going to come into Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or White Hart Lane and lose. We're not that possession-based, elite possession-based team like Ange showed in his first season, right? That led him to a fifth place finish. So like, where are we? We're somewhere in that middle ground, right? It's just fucking uncomfortable. We're in a middle ground right now in the way that we're going about signing players, the way that we're engaging with fans. And I know I gave a lot of shit to the Supporters Trust last week, and I know that there was some sort of action that happened outside of the stadium that wasn't really apparently very much, but like on the field, like we need to be dominating games, but not losing right? We need to be looking brave. We need to play brave. We can't be naive, and we need to be playing at least what to the eye looks like good football. But we're playing football right now that's not pleasing to the eye, and it's not with consistent results. We need both of those things. So sometimes this can feel worse than just being bad, but we're just right now, I think we're bad. So when you're bad, your expectations are super, super low. And when you're almost good, it actually makes like every single little tiny mistake feel personal. And maybe that's what Frank is talking about when he said, like, we're on the cusp of something. We're almost like right there. I don't see it. But the key thing is that with V9's messaging, right? And the messaging coming from the club, it means that Tottenham are trying to be something again, right? So that right there, I guess it was a very, very long-winded answer, and took the long way around to get to the conclusion that it is progress in a way. And maybe there's stuff behind the scenes that we don't see with Thomas Frank and his system or his setup that we're not seeing, that is showing the upper management that there is progress. It's either that or the upper management is being naive, right? And and they're just barely recognizing that this isn't going to play with the fans. I mean, it's one way or another, but
Honestly, for me, I think it's Frank being naive. I mean, to feel like we're on the cusp of something. The cusp of what? You know, we were down a goal, and you have our goalkeeper taking an eternity to get the ball back into play when it went out. You know, they're playing around goalkeeper to center back to right back to center back. There's no sense of urgency. There's nothing on the field that shows me that they want to get back into it. It to me it looks like a training drill almost, right? Where your team is losing, but it's just practice. So, you just reset and you try the same tactical exercise again. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look real or authentic. It looks like it is a rehearsed series of motions that they're just out there trying to make work, but without any real result. You
like
know,
passing back and forth until maybe there's a lane open through the middle. But
but
like
you don't get that
what
late
ends up
until
happening
he
is there's never
passes
a lane
you.
in the middle, right? And we have to play to the outside, and we
The
get
thing, the thing that drives
found
me
out.
nuts about that in particular is there's just so much space in the middle. You look at how they're set up, right? You've got attacking line, you've got defending line, and then you have this giant circle in the middle. Somebody could run into that and receive a ball and potentially break some of these lines up, but they don't. They never do.
So I
And it
think what
drives
you're
me nuts.
yeah, so what you're getting at right now basically is that this is instructed.
That's it. No, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
So
This is
you're
this is
not
coming from
necessarily putting it on the players, because if you ask me, a lot of these players that we had from last year, right? These players they they want the ball, right? This is a team that wants the ball. This is a team that wants to play a high line. They want to play, the forwards want to play up high. They want to take risks. They want to dictate the games instead of reacting to the game and letting the game come to them. They want to be the ones coming to the game and bringing the game to the other teams. So, you know, that tells me right there that like these are the types of players that we have, and that is not just something that you know they're going out and doing because it shows that this to me is philosophical. This is the coach's philosophy, and it has come at a cost. You know, we're constantly getting punished in the midfield. Um, our fullbacks are or left and right backs in this system are like Poro is not able to defend, right? He's not a good back four defender. So all he's being asked to do right now is to go up and as high up as he can and whiz balls into the box, which he's good at, you know. But our midfield gets bypassed because nobody can receive the balls. There's nothing creative there, and then we have mistakes that are happening in brutal areas because they're constantly passing back and forth between the three or four of them, and we're not progressing the ball forward into our midfield and then onto our forwards. So like
and here's the thing, to add
it's like
insult
they're
to
hiding,
injury.
right?
Yeah, and to add insult to injury, the other team is pressing. They are playing with that sense of urgency, right? So when you're playing this sort of, lackadaisical, okay, let's, get these nice simple passes going. The second anybody gets put under pressure, that ball's getting picked and all of a sudden there's a breakaway. It happens time and time again, and it's infuriating to watch. But if you're ready for a little tinfoil hat conspiracy nonsense,
Ooh, here we go.
I am starting to believe that the reason Tell got hooked in the last game is because he was taking shots on from different non-Frank specific positions, right? He was shooting from the edge of the box, and clearly it wasn't really working out, but he was taking those chances. And in my mind, Frank's looking at that and thinking, well, that's a wasted opportunity. He's got to come off, and we're going to put, Wilson over there, Odebear. And I'm looking at that like, okay, but he didn't add anything. He didn't come in onto the left-hand side and all of a sudden improve anything. In fact, it felt like there was a noticeable drop off as a result. So, my crazy conspiracy is that it is something that is coached and instructed, and Frank didn't like that somebody was going out there and trying to make something happen by taking more risky chances that clearly didn't work. Would he have stayed on had one of those shots gone in? I don't know, but the fact that they didn't, I think, is why Tell got hooked. And what's crazy to me is even if he had passed the ball and gotten into those higher XG positions before taking the shot, nobody would have shot. Nobody would have taken their laces through it. Basuma actually had a couple of opportunities that he took from distance, and had he not been subbed on, I wonder if he would have been hooked next for some of these less clear cut scoring opportunities. But that's the kind of stuff I think we want to see. I mean, you had mentioned how good Basuma had looked out there. And I've been hypercritical of him all season. And I just think that the fact that he was going out there with some energy and he was trying things makes him look head and shoulders above everybody else out there, because they just look like their spirits have been absolutely obliterated to the point where they just don't know creativity anymore.
I mean, it's like they're mailing it in. I mean, there are also outside problems that happen too, right? Like you have social media that and media that amplify, especially in London and England in general, that like amplifies every single loss. The rival fans never shut the fuck up, ever. I mean, I had to deal with Tyson. He's my co-host on United and Green, right? I had to deal with Tyson. He's a West Ham fan, and all the only text he wrote me was ha 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 ha. I mean, so our rival fans love to mug us off to begin with, right? But when they're beating us, especially the lower teams, the lower tiered teams that shouldn't be beating us, when they do, also it amplifies things, especially for the players. It amplifies things for the fans that are the match going fans that are expecting the team to play well at home. And if this is a rebuild, the expectations of us fans are obviously not matching the reality of this rebuild, right? So like obviously every dropped point, every loss, it feels like proof that nothing has changed, and every mistake gets framed as like a systemic failure. But I think like, and I'm not saying that I'm not Frank out. I am. I think he needs to go for us to fix this thing. We gave it a chance probably longer than we wanted to or had to, but we're cowardly out there. We're passive. We're not trying to win. We're playing to not lose. And when Thomas Frank says things in the preseason like we're not going to win every game, or we don't belong, this team doesn't belong in Champions League. The fuck they don't belong in Champions League, right? They deserve to be there because they won the next hardest tournament in the world. Which at points in the league phases, in the group phases, seems always every year seems like a much tougher competition than the Champions League. Because the top 10 Champions League teams are going to be the top 10 Champions League teams, right? And the rest are just going to be trying to push on and make it. But in Europa, every single team feels like they've got a chance, and they play that way. So, I don't know where to go right now, but for me, like, there's no point in as a fan, I've been a fan of a lot of shitty fucking teams over my life. Up until 2004, the Boston Red Sox were competitive some years, not competitive other years. My Washington Commanders are perennial laughing stocks, especially with our previous ownership. Um, the Lakers had some down years, right? So the Bruins are kind of in a downturn right now. They're in a kind of rebuild state of flux. So I'm used to this, and I think that there is a difference between fans here in the United States and fans that are you know in and around that area, or the match going fans, season ticket holders who need to be satisfied for the money that they're spending, right? And that's that might the amount of money that they're spending might not seem a lot to some people, but it is to a lot of those folks who have been doing this and going there and supporting this team their entire lives. We don't have that luxury to be there and to have that opportunity to be a match going fan, to every single game. So if those fans are there booing, I don't blame them. It's not good, man. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. And it definitely doesn't feel good for me, but I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to mail it in and stop watching the games because, my team stinks. I still love my club. I still love
Absolutely.
that stupid
Absolutely.
chicken.
But at the same time, when you love it, you want them to do better. And if you look at, some of the underlying data that's been floating around out there, it's not showing any improvement. In fact, I saw somebody had put together a graph, and I'm not sure how good the data is, but the point that it was trying to show was that, Thomas Frank is overperforming what he did in his first season at Brentford, but
Overperforming?
underperforming what Tottenham is used to, even under Ange, right? When we were talking about finishing 17th last season, he still ended up, showing statistically a little bit higher on some of these metrics than what we're seeing under Frank, which is kind of crazy to think about. But
Well, it's also the eye test, Steve, right? Because
yeah, absolutely,
at
it doesn't
times,
look good.
we looked like we were having fun going forward. We're just not doing that right now.
It's
Nobody it's the slumped shoulders, it's the heads down, it's the kicking the ball, kicking at the
the
ground.
pointing fingers, the trying to play the blame game, the looking for the unlikeliest of outs. Oh, there was a foul on me. No, there wasn't, Vicario. You were weak. Again.
You know what I did love? I did love from our captain Romero, and we give him shit week to week on this podcast. Is when he scored his goal, he ran toward the south stand with his heart up.
Yeah, because he has that sort of energy that you want. It's just not always placed in the best of ways. But yeah, I appreciated that too. And it did feel great to see him get that goal. It's just sad that our goals tend to come mostly from our defenders. And then there's Richarlison, who's out for the next 7 weeks. So, I mean, nothing feels like it is going to be turned around. And it's exhausting, man. It is so exhausting to just want to see somebody get out there and show a little bit of effort, a little bit of passion. And then when they do, it seems like they're punished for it, which also really hurts. And I don't know where we go. I'm obviously Frank out, but I thought he should have been sacked weeks ago. I think it's kind of stupid now that we're coming to the end of a transfer window to make a decision.
Oh,
But
and
you know what?
we're letting him make decisions on who's going to be in the Champions League squad for the next.
Next couple of games, yeah. But what's wild, if you think about it, I think the craziest thing is nothing has changed in my view over the last couple of games. It's been consistent, right? Everything that has gone wrong according to the trajectory that we have seen weeks ago. And so it just makes the organization look stupid at this point if they do sack him. Because you should have done it a while ago. We've seen better coaches at teams higher up the table get sacked for less,
Yep.
but we're still
Yep.
sticking with him. And I do understand the need to weather the storm, and you're not going to get a magician in the door to turn things around and immediately be competing for top four. um, I do have some ideas as to what might stop that. I think the first thing is to stop buying for managers and start buying for the identity of the team, and then just hire managers that fit that identity. I think we spent too long over the last several years since Pochettino switching between, okay, we've had the defensive manager, now we have the attacking one, now we have the defensive one, now we have the attacking one. And then you end up with a hodgepodge of players that don't necessarily fit the current system, which we're seeing now. Um, and you're letting the guy in charge now pick players for what is possibly going to be a new manager in a couple of days who might have a different philosophy. So, that's my way of saying it's not just Frank, it's not just the manager. I do think that the players also are responsible for a lot of this, but not necessarily in the not good enough category. And I think it's just wrong fit, right? I think they're playing in a system that doesn't suit them because they were bought for somebody who had a system that better suited them.
I
It's
mean,
it's rough, but I do think we're going to have to, regardless of who we bring on, whether it's going to be Frank till the end of the season or if he does get sacked after Dortmund. I do think that there is going to be a period where it is going to be rough. It is going to be stormy. We're in it right now. Nothing is going to change overnight. We might get the new manager bounce for a couple of games, and then we're right back at it. So I do think it is going to take time. It is going to take a few transfer windows and sticking with somebody to get to the end of it. But I just do not believe in Frank. I don't think that he is the guy who is capable of 2, 3 years down the line turning things around. It just doesn't feel that way.
no, I think he's capable of bringing Tottenham to a place where they're mid to low mid table.
And that's not good enough. It's not. And
It,
and I know there are people out there who, oh well, why would Chabi Alonso come here? He could go to Liverpool when they sack Slot, or why would Jurgen Klopp come out of retirement for us? It's never going to happen. Yeah, probably, but if you want to compete for some of these top places, you need somebody who is at that elite level. You can't just keep mining for that diamond in the rough out there, hoping that you'll, hit strike gold with another Pochettino. And hell, maybe Pochettino does come back after the World Cup and has his fairy tale reunion. I'm not convinced that's going to turn out any better. I think it would be fun for a little while, but it's you got to remember it's a different club now than it was when he left. We have different players, and like I just said, a lot of these players have come in with very different positions tactically. Um, so is he able to cope with that? I don't know. Maybe not. But
maybe in some capacity he could come back to the club, but yeah, I mean he said himself recently, like it's just not realistic right now. He's
it's
says
not.
he's building and he's happy where he is. I don't know how he could be, given the state of U.S. soccer, but
And the country in general.
yeah, in this country in general, um, you
It's
know,
it's rough. It's rough. I I think we're going to get some much needed context in the next few days, regardless of what happens at tomorrow's match, which we'll talk about in just a moment here. Um, but I need a palate cleanser, Mike. Do you need a palate cleanser?
I need a palate cleanser, Steve.
Right now, I've got a nice Coors as per usual. But I'm curious. Hey, Mike, what you drinking?
Steve, after last week, I had like a little breakdown, right? Um, over the the palate burnout, right? The IPA palate burnout that we get um from the IPAs, from the sours and all these big beers that are designed to like pique our interest and pique our taste for something different that's not Budweiser, that's not Miller Lite, I wanted to kind of do a reset and reset my palate and stop drinking IPAs. But guess what I did this past weekend? I went and drank Double Sunshine at the pub.
Okay, well that's not
Amy,
exactly
and,
what
Amy
this
and
is.
I went down to the pub, and of course, like first thing that caught my eye was like, "Ooh, Lawson's Double Sunshine, yes, please." But I'll say that after Friday night, I did not have any IPAs, and I think I really do need that palate cleansing maybe type of situation. I'm going to stick with porters. I'm going to stick with stouts. I'm going to stick with American beers, American lagers, I should
How
say.
about Tang?
Tang.
Yeah, they still make that. Is that a thing?
That's a thing. Tang is a thing. I don't know that a lot of people uh, drink it anymore, but I'm pretty sure it's a thing. Can we get the Wicked Spursy research department on it?
Yeah, we'll check that out while you introduce us to this week's brew.
This week's brew, Steve. As I was at the excuse me, as I was at the Georgia market in the beer cooler, looking around, I was like, God damn, there's nothing here. It's all IPAs. It's like everything is an IPA. Everything's a double IPA. Like can art. I'm looking at can art. I'm like, this is cool. Oh fuck, that's a triple IPA. um, then I came across this. I came across the section with the foam brewers, who typically have a bunch of IPAs, right? This beer is I don't even know what it's called. I think it's called Jammy Jam. No, it's not. It's called champagne in a paper cup.
Champagne, huh?
Champagne from a paper cup.
Okay.
This
Okay.
tells me, what does this tell you? It tells me that it's like a Miller High Life clone type of a thing.
That's the first thing that came to mind. It made me wish that I had my Miller instead of my Coors.
This
Then
is
we
a
could be clean.
classic. All I saw was it says classic American lager. No,
You can be the judge of that.
I can be a judge of that because I love my fizzy yellow beers. So just to, as we're opening this and pouring it into my nice 4/4 cup here in the foam beer, um, American lagers are probably one of the most misunderstood beer styles in the world. They're kind of generally written off as being like watered down versions of German beers or um, any Czech pilsners, lagers. Um, but generally, that ignores what they're actually designed. That's what they're designed to be, right? It designed they're brewed intentionally that way. And here's the thing about American lagers is that like they're super intentionally brewed the way they are. They're low on the bitterness factor, so they're drinkable, right? They're light bodied, so that people don't feel heavy, right? They're a little bit fizzy, but they're made for like being refreshing beers, like a Kolsch style, like little sweet. Um, they're generally cold fermented with lager yeast. Obviously, they're super drinkable. And we have to remember that all of these beers get their they can trace their roots back to the German and Czech immigrants, right? Who kind of adapted those kind of old world style of brewing and brought it to America and brewed it in a way that made it palatable
Now,
for
Mike,
Americans, especially in the Midwest, right?
Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that they would be able to trace their roots into the ground where it collects the water and nutrients to grow.
Correct. That's
And that's
also
the-
correct, Steve.
I needed to contribute something, you know. If this is all about learning, maybe somebody is going to learn how plants grow.
Yes, correct, Steve. Correct.
I passed, you know, elementary school biology or whatever it was when they taught that.
So generally, these beers are made with corn or rice, which are plentiful in this country, especially. American the thing is, American barley is higher in protein than the barley that in the rye and stuff that you'll find in Europe. Um, and that actually helps. The protein actually helps create a cleaner, crisper beer. Um, so when they're using this American barley, they're finding that like the trade-off was utterly balanced, drinkable beers. And um it was great for those guys who were working in the Midwest in the summer times, right? That's why you see these beers, these German brewers popping up in Milwaukee, in the summer times. You see them in St. Louis, where the Bush family settled, right? And started brewing their beers because that's where like that's where the industrial revolution was happening. That's where the East and the West were meeting with the development of the railroads, right? Um, and so they bring industry out to those areas. And these are hardworking immigrant populations who also love their beer. So, um, and actually, you get a lot of different styles too out of an American style lager. So you can do a lot of different things with it. I just love the beer because it smells like beer. It smells like when I was a kid and my dad would pop open a beer, right? So it's just kind of nostalgia for me, but it's also because of the drinkability of it. I mean, you can see it's see-through, it's clear, right? It looks a little bit like urine, but that's fine. It's going to come out that way too.
That is true. I do know that firsthand. That's a good look.
That's an interesting beer.
Ooh.
You don't get this is a craft brewery's version of a classic American lager. And no matter what you want to think about craft beer or whatever, um, they use generally, um, especially with foam, they'll use non-GMO ingredients. They're going to use the water's going to be different than they use. The brewing styles are going to be the brewing styles are going to be different because they're smaller batches than you'll see with like Budweiser, Miller, Coors. Um, this is a tasty beer, man.
That's
It's gonna
fantastic.
be a lot of good on a nice hot day. I'm not gonna go say that I'm gonna drink 10 of these things. There is 4% alcohol.
So you could.
I could. I'm not going to though.
Mhm.
It's super, super fizzy, which is something that I'm not a giant fan of. And it doesn't, it like their description, the champagne from a paper cup. It may look like champagne. It doesn't taste like a Miller High Life. So
In a good way,
I'm trying to throw you off.
you're doing a pretty damn good job, Mike.
I can tell you that this is probably made with maize, with corn.
Ah, yes. Maze.
Mm-hmm.
You ever wonder why they call it a corn maze? Isn't that a bit redundant?
It is redundant, Steve.
If
Do you
I
have your
had a
guess?
farm, I would call it a maze.
A maze.
The amazing maze.
There you go. I think you're onto something there, Steve.
I don't know what, but certainly something.
It's
I'm ready
something.
with my guess.
You'd have to be kind of like, you got to know. You got to be in the know. Like, if you know type of a thing. The answer is 3.8.
Oh, so close. I went high with a 4.0.
There you go.
Dang.
Well, no, man, it's a good beer. Good beer. Foam doesn't fuck up, you know?
They do. No, they do pretty well. Even some of their more out there stuff tends to be at least palatable.
Kind of a super cool can art too.
I do enjoy their can art. It's quite nice.
They got nice cans.
That is true. I have heard that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get the HR department sick on me, but there's like a
HR
Kraken on the front of it. Kind of.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, cool.
Love it. Love it. And now we can look ahead.
Can we? Should we?
I mean,
keep talking about beer.
We can look at the beer's head. How would we describe that? That seems like a better use of our time than talking about Dortmund. I mean,
look, let's talk about this game. I mean, give the people what they want, Steve.
I'm going to keep it really brief.
I
have no hope at all whatsoever, to the point where even looking at Burnley at the weekend, I don't feel comfortable or confident at all. That's where my expectations are. Burnley gives me moment to pause. Burnley, man.
We're not winning that game, Steve.
I do think that
it's going to be an ugly 2-2 draw. You know that.
I do think that Nicky Wink's AI earlier today calling attention to potentially beating Dortmund and then losing to Burnley would be classic Spurs. That does seem like something we would do. I honestly can't see us winning either of them.
All right.
Not on current form, not unless something magical happens. You know, Heitinga comes in and somehow puts his boot up everybody and gets them running faster or something. I don't know, but I don't feel good about either game. Dortmund, I feel quite confident they're going to win. Burnley, I on paper, we should trounce them, but I can't feel confident in that.
Yeah, I mean, the other piece of it too, like, obviously we've been pretty solid in the Champions League, right? 2 draws, 1 loss, 3 wins. That's good enough to keep us up there, right, in the discussion. But like, still the inconsistency that remains the issue. Dortmund on the other side of it are in their league are unbeaten in almost all of their recent matches across their competitions. They've scored plenty, but they also they do give up goals at a pretty high rate. So I feel this could be like a pretty open match. And in Europe, in European games, it seems that the matches have been pretty wide open. And I think that's why we are successful, because those passing lanes are there where we need to be. But I think in order for us to win, we need to stay disciplined defensively. We have to exploit the transition phase of the game. And I think we're better off kind of hitting them on quick breaks and set pieces rather than, we're not going to dominate possession. That's for fucking damn sure. But like, we can't, at the same time, we're not going to sit here and say that Spurs need to sit back and put 10 men behind the ball, because that's fucking stupid too, you know. But conceding fewer chances in Europe, I think in Europe is the way to go, which means I think you have to play kind of a medium block and just kind of go for it. And, try and maybe a mid low block and try and hit them on the counter attack. But you have to be defensively. Your shape has to be tight, man, compact. We're giving up goals from outside the box, man. This is the problem. It's
We're
not
letting them
necessarily
in.
in box defending. It is outside the box that these goals are coming, and it's because dudes are just sitting there. There's two or three dudes, ball striking players that sit there right at the top of the box, and they know that there's going to be lanes because they know that they're not even being watched. Right?
Yeah, nobody's marking them, not for miles.
Right. Dortmund is super aggressive, man, on the attack. And if we don't play good transition defense, we're gonna get caught. I think that I think this could be a game that we accidentally win.
Accidentally being the
Well, this is
key
gonna be a
word.
problem, Steve, because we're not going to have Mickey because he's got yellow card problems, right? Um, we're both pretty close in the table right now, so like this is a big deal. This game's a big deal. I think this game is a I think we have a better opportunity to actually come away with a win in this game than we do against Frankfurt, believe it or not. We just like the past couple of years just don't play we don't play up to our competition, or don't play we play down to our competition, I should say. Um like we did with Bodo Glimt, right? Um with that draw. I just think that we might actually have the edge in this game. Even though Mickey's not there, I think we have an opportunity to win. It's just that we have multiple injuries to key players, and that really hurts us. That really hurts us. So I think that if we are to lose this game by any measurable amount, it's going to be because Dortmund are healthier, and their bench is much deeper than ours, and much more experienced. So, um, I don't know, man. I think this is kind of do or die for either club, right? If we come out of this with a draw, we're probably happy going into Frankfurt, but not comfortable, right?
Yeah, comfort is something that's honestly out the window.
But the
I,
problem
I
is, Steve, is if we play to not lose, that's a problem. That's where we're going to get in trouble, and I don't want that.
I don't either, but I just don't feel good. I don't feel good. And Burnley's another one where we should win that. It shouldn't be a question. And here I am, just I got nothing. They're probably going to look like prime Barcelona up against us.
Probably. I mean, and we're definitely not winning that game. We're definitely not winning that game. Uh, and for what it's worth, like I think that Tottenham, we're at an inflection point right now. You know, we're at an inflection
It's
point.
painful.
Yeah.
But we're coming up on time here, so hopefully we've got some more optimistic or positive final thoughts. Mike, you got anything good to share?
You know what I will say? I will say that, like, just as I just mentioned, the Spurs are at an inflection point right now. I'm going to keep it as Spurs based final thoughts, Steve. We're at an inflection point right now. And the club it itself is at an inflection point, not the fan base. I think the fan base knows exactly where they want to be and exactly where they sit and stand right now. Um, but I think the club is at an inflection point. This is the point where they have to decide what they want to be for the future, and I think that right now, I think that Thomas Frank should have been let go a while ago. There weren't options. I think there are options out there now, but I'm not positive that the club has explored those options because I don't think they saw a problem. We heard a couple weeks ago that it was that the board and Thomas Frank were on the same page and moving forward. We're going to just move forward, um, despite the situation. But I think that the board has had an eye opening experience with the loss to West Ham. I expect Thomas Frank to make it through the league phase of the Champions League, which means a couple weeks. He'll make it past Burnley. He may not. He might not make it past Burnley if we don't beat Burnley. But I think there if there were options out there, I think that we already would have taken those options. I think the club would have already taken the options. I don't think they're that stupid
I would
to
hope that they
be
would.
naive enough to not see that there was a problem earlier, right? I think that they have probably explored the options that are out there and haven't um and haven't had success doing what they maybe have wanted to do. Um I also think that there's a way that there could be. I know Ange said that there was a mole in the club. There might be a mole in the club. Um, Thomas Frank's starting lineup got out for the last match, right? Hours before the game. Um, so I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening within this club that need to be turned around, and I think that it's going to have to start with a manager, and which is unfortunate because I think he's a good person. I just don't think he knows how to talk to the players. I don't think he knows how to um, speak to the fans, and I don't know if he knows how to speak um, to the media. Um, he just keeps getting it wrong, and it's disappointing. And for those folks that out there that want to just play the stability card for stability's sake, this is not the way to go. This is this isn't keeping him around is not stability. It does it there's nothing to show for what he's trying to build here, and it's just time. It's time.
It's
And
stability if what you want to be stable is 17th place finishes.
correct. And it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. The We as fans who are not match going fans have to understand what those folks that are there paying the money to go to these games are seeing and feeling. It's not going to get any better, guys. We've tried to let it get better. It's just not going to get better, and it's unfortunate. I tried to stay positive, but I didn't do it very well. I just don't think it's going to get better with Thomas Frank at the helm, and if it means that Hai Tenga takes um, is that how you pronounce his name? Um,
I
I don't know much about Ajax. I know that he wasn't super successful there, but um, if it means that he's going to take over the team, we're going to be playing out of the back for
it's
for
going to
the
be
for
rough
the
one way
near
or
future,
another.
man. We're going to be playing out of the back for the near future because he's bringing Dutch football to Tottenham, and maybe that's what we need. I don't know. Total football, Steve,
Turn
as they
Mickey into a
say
superstar, and that's about it.
in the land of wood shoes and tulips.
Yep, pretty much. But you know what? My final thoughts, I am going with a much more distant and what I consider funny bit of news. So apparently, I just saw today that, and for those of you, especially those, overseas who don't really follow any American sports, there's this whole drama we've got going on right now because for this year's Super Bowl halftime, we have Bad Bunny performing, who makes people angry because he speaks Spanish, which is as stupid as it sounds, yes, imagine being upset that somebody speaks a different language than you. Couldn't be us, not here in Wicked Spursy land,
But we want Dirks Bentley.
but unfortunately, we live in a country where morons have a big voice and like to use it to say stupid shit. So the news today is that opening for the Super Bowl, they got Green Day. And if they thought getting Bad Bunny to perform at the halftime show was going to ruffle some feathers, I don't know what they were thinking about getting the bands that even before they were doing anything related to the Super Bowl, have been calling out Trump and his MAGA cronies pretty consistently way back since he first took office in his first term. So I imagine that is going to be quite entertaining.
Here's a good idea. Here's a good idea. I think the NFL was like, let's combat this fascist regime with the most anti-fascist band we could think of that's still palatable to a good portion of the American people. Let's get a punk band, because the punk scene, for people that don't understand the punk scene is born out of anti-fascism. It's born out of anti-establishment, right? So this had to have been calculated by the NFL to combat
absolutely
all of the backlash that they got from the Bad Bunny choice. I think Bad Bunny is going to be super. I don't understand a word of Spanish, but I can tell you that the music is super high energy and it's super fun and it's catchy as hell, man. I'm looking forward to the halftime show for the first time in a while. So
I am personally looking forward for the NFL to really triple down and announce that for the singing of the national anthem, they'll get Zach De La Rocha. I'm sure that would go over really well.
Yeah, that would go over very, very well.
Yeah, let's just get Rage Against the Machine together. They can do the national anthem. I'm sure they'll stick to that. Just finding out which box Trump is in and flipping him off. That would be spectacular. But yes, that brings me enjoyment. I am very much looking forward to this. I don't really have a horse in the race. You know, there's nobody left going into the Super Bowl contention that I have really much interest in.
I seriously, I don't have anything bad to say about the Rams, and I don't have anything bad to say about the Seahawks. So either one of those teams wins, it's fine. I think Denver was highly overrated all season. They didn't beat a team by more than 7. I think it was something like 11 of their 14 wins were by 7 points or less, 7 points or fewer, depending on how you want to say it. And the Patriots had the easiest schedule in history, and now they get to play against a quarterback who hasn't thrown a ball in like 3 years. So that's going to be great for the rest of us. And if you enjoy Patriots fans, it'll be great for you.
Yeah, big if there though. Unless you're in New England, then you know they're kind of everywhere.
Kind of our wheelhouse, though, Steve, is the New England thing.
Yeah, although I will say one of my most fond memories was watching the Giants beat the Patriots in a house full of Patriots supporters back in 2011. That was a good time, being one of 2 people in an entire house rooting for the Giants.
I'm a self-professed Tom Brady fan. Love Tom Brady, hate the Patriots. You know, quite the pickle. That's why it was great when he won it with Tampa Bay. So
there we go. Anyway, this has been a all sunshine and rainbows episode of Wicked Spursy, brought to you by Dave, who, you know, he exists. He is omnipotent. He knows all. And if ever you need, you know, some advice, some life lessons, You just wish upon a Dave and click your
He's got
heels
him.
3 times. Maybe he'll show up. Maybe he'll tell you what you need to be doing. I
Dave's
guarantee
always got good advice, doesn't he?
he does. And I guarantee by the time he finishes listening to this episode, he's going to send us a message and say, you guys are a bunch of, sourpusses, huh? But a couple of cynical pessimists out there. You need to get outside and smell the roses. And we'll go, well, Dave, it's winter in Vermont. Where are the roses? And he will produce them magically. And
He'll say, boys, the roses are wherever you want them to be. You have to just go out and find them.
That does sound very much like Dave. Dave. If Dave were here, I guarantee he would want to hear a nice, full-hearted coins.
And what else would he like?
He would want me to remind people, just don't be an asshole. All right. And Mike, what words do you think Dave would want to hear from you?
Everyone. Again, man, go out and speak to your neighbors. If you're not feeling great about things in life, talk to your neighbors, talk to your family, talk to your friends. If you don't have anybody else to talk to, go out and find something that helps you to just enjoy life. Take a walk, take a run, go on a bike ride. I know it's fucking 19 below zero out right now in some of the parts of the country. Just go out and do something you enjoy. But when you do it, just make sure you be safe. And also protect your mental health at all costs.
And
come on, you Spurs.